All right, guys, back with you again. It's me, your boy Christian Alvarez, here with Husky Fat President Scott Jones. How's it going, sir?
Christian, how you doing, brother, man? It's good to talk to you again.
Good to see you again. And I'm reaching out to you today. I really want to talk to you because there are a lot of insights, a lot of things I really want to pick at your brain, and also talking about your upcoming event. I believe you're working with someone else. It's the Glove Up for the Come Up, if I'm not right. Also a K1 Challenge event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What it is it's called the Glove Up for the Come Up, the Come Up Foundation. It's actually a fundraiser for them, and they've asked us to put on fights for them, essentially. So it's a 100% all proceeds go directly to the nonprofit. Which is an amazing cause. Just let me know if we got a few minutes in this interview. We can now or later. I do want to tell everybody a little bit about what they're about, because it's good stuff.
Well, Scott, since people intend to stay for the first part of the video and usually not the last, I say if it's a good cause, I trust you. Let her rip. Tell us what this is.
All right, let's go, man. Well, essentially what it is, Emmanuel Rivera, who is the founder of the Come Up Foundation, he's a former pro fighter, fought in Bellator, he actually was scheduled to have a kickboxing fight with me when his fighting career kind of got derailed. He had some heart issues, some genetic heart issues. But he is actually he's on my pay-per-view team. So he's one of the color commentators on the team. He started this foundation right about the same time we started Husky Fat. We knew each other through people, but never really officially met or talked to before then. But essentially what the Come Up Foundation is they have hubs throughout the city. They start out with just one, and now they've got dozens where they actually go into schools, into different churches, and any places that will let them use the facilities, and offer free martial arts training and mentoring to underprivileged youth. So kids that can't afford to go to a gym, can't afford equipment, can't afford to play baseball, football, this and that. They'll actually pick them up, take them to class, and teach them. They teach them discipline. They teach them martial arts. They teach them about finances. They teach them leadership. They teach them anti-bullying curriculum. They've got a whole host of things. They're what they like to say. They're not building martial artists, just building martial artists. They're building leaders. And we actually have their very first. They started the same time we did, a little less than 4 years ago. And they have their very first kid who's been through the program is actually going to make his debut fight on this card. So it's good stuff, man. For your audience out here, go to the comeupfoundation.com and just check out what they're about, man. It's a really cool thing, and it's just something that I didn't have whenever I was in school. A lot of as you know, martial arts, combat sports in general is an outlet for a lot of people, myself included. And it's kept a lot of people, who may have been in trouble if they hadn't have found this. And so I think it's a good tool for the youth, and teaches good discipline and prepares them for life, honestly.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely amazing stuff. Actually, the person who trained me how to fight, my old coach, Glenn Hudson, who I think I've mentioned him in the past, his gym in Robbins is actually a non-for-profit. And the reason why he has it like that is because although there is the legality is weird. I'm not very good at NGOs, not going to lie. But they charge a very low price for that way the kids in those less funded areas, poorer areas, up-and-coming kids can have a healthy outlet to do martial arts as opposed to doing the bad things that usually come from those bad areas, especially in a city like here in Chicago. I know OKC is probably a little bit safer. OKC is probably a little bit safer in Chicago.
You're like, it's a little bit. It's more spread out here. There's less. It's less, Chicago. It's a much more dense urban area in Chicago. Here, it's more spread out. We've got our own problems, just like any other city does. It's just. It's a little bit different.
Of course. It was just like everyone likes to make fun of Chicago. That's why I like to make that joke from the west side of the city. But in all seriousness, Scott, wonderful stuff. And I was going to ask, this is actually a very important question, as this is a Husky Fat associated event. Will this be available on the Husky Fat app to watch?
It will be available on the Husky Fat app. But we're doing things a little bit different this time. It's going to be available on the Husky Fat app. And it's going to be available for free too. Whether you have a subscription or not, you go sign up, you can watch it. It's also going to be available streaming free on our YouTube channel. So if you will punch in Husky Fat Promotions on YouTube, hit subscribe, you'll be able to watch the entire event for free there. We're going to throw it up on Facebook, basically any platform we can get it up on without getting kicked out. We're going to bring you a K1 challenge event for free, legitimately. So you'd be stupid not to tune in.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing, although it does have a bit more of a, because the Come Up Foundation, when I saw, I'm like, oh, is this a boxing event? When I first saw it, because it has the yellow and black as opposed to the Husky Fat Miami retro 80s vibe that we all love. A thing I want to really, really ask, and a lot of people have been asking, what exactly is the K1 Challenge in reference to? Because obviously Husky Fat has that wonderful link at Team K1. We finally got to see an American striker debut there. What exactly would you say to the viewers out there, especially fighters and fans? How exactly would you say what the K1 Challenge is, and what exactly is it for here in the United States?
Well, honestly, what it is K1 is wanting to put their foot in the door in the United States. And Husky Fats, we're already here. We're busting out shows, and so we've come to kind of an alignment or an agreement per se. So this is what this show is. It's a multiple things. It is an official K1 show. Like, it's going to be on their schedule. They will be broadcasting, showing replays of highlights and things like that all over their social media, all over their YouTube channel as well. But it's an opportunity. Any show that has K1 attached to it through Husky Fat is a great opportunity. If you're a fighter in the United States and you have aspirations of fighting overseas or fighting in Japan, there's going to be eyes on it. I promise you, there's going to be eyes on it from all over the world. In this show, it was kind of different in that it wasn't planned to be one from the start. It just kind of turned out that way here in the last week or two, but it's a positive. It's great exposure. So if you're a coach or fighters, and you know, you and I both, I mean, striking is getting bigger now in the United States, but there's not exactly a bunch of organizations that put on striking events here. It's all, you know, MMA is still king right now. So if you want to get your name out there, striking event, if it's your goal to fight overseas, whether it's Japan, you know, whether it's fighting for glory or someone like that, we're the spot. You're going to have international eyes on us, you know, anytime we put on a show that has that K1 brand on it.
Absolutely. And it's wonderful that Husky Fat has grown so much, at least in this notoriety, as again, in 1 year, 2 years, you guys went from all the stuff. You had that amazing American Grand Prix, as I call it. When people say, what's Husky Fat? You guys know the K1 Grand Prix? Think of that in America. They literally did that. And like, oh, wow. And I'll send them the Husky Fat one night tournament that Mason Strodtmann won. But it's so absolutely wonderful that it's solidified here in the United States. And you guys now have that firm attachment to K1 and that good link. Now, a big question I want to ask before I move on to the more deep questions related to what Husky Fat and kickboxing, what the future is. What do you see in the next year? That now that so much has happened, what do you see is going to be the big thing for 2026 in Husky Fat?
The big thing for us, well, we'll talk Husky Fat in specific. We're going to keep growing and we're going to keep moving. The next big thing for us is we're looking at, and we're in talks with a few different ones to get on a little bit bigger platform that is more available. I mean, our platforms now are available nationwide. They're just hard to find. We're looking to get on a bigger platform that is going to be more available and give us a little bit more exposure to the public. So I think, and I think you will agree, what we got going on at Husky Fat is unique and it's special. It's just a matter of getting more eyes on it. And see, it's getting more eyes and drawing more attention. So our goal is that it's not necessarily going to be, we're still going to put on shows, probably actually do a few more shows this year where we had a few things come up that was kind of out of control. We didn't do as many shows as we normally do this year. So we're going to be back at it. It's going to be probably somewhere between 4 and 6 shows we do this year. But we're looking to work something out with a big platform. So you can see us on your big screen in the United States and worldwide coming soon.
Awesome, absolutely. Hopefully that's a big one, whether it be UFC Fight Pass, DAZN, whatever it is. DAZN would be amazing if you guys could somehow pull that off. But big things, absolutely. The optimism, that killer draft to just bust through the ceiling is exactly what people love kickboxing. And I tell actually the guys I teach and just my friends, it's like, hey, why should I do kickboxing and Muay Thai instead of MMA or BJJ? I go, kickboxing's that combat sport for guys who want to be like superheroes, because everything about it, like the flash, the zeal, like the tournaments, the characters, Masato Kobayashi, Buaka, all these guys, like their styles like out of superhero books. For like the MMA guys, very brutish. They even had that gladiator aspect to them with the old UFC intros. And Bellator literally being named after a gladiator. RIP to that promotion. So I'm like, if you want to be that anime superhero, that comic book superhero, go into kickboxing, go into Muay Thai. And that also brings me to my next question, is now that Husky Fat is getting more legitimate. And now that we've seen kind of where we stand on the world, now that, Mason went out there and fought a really good fighter, Minoru Kimura, a thing that I would actually want to pick your brain at, Scott, is every single notable combat sport that it has reached major success to the point that it has a plethora of athletes, which is hopefully where Husky Fat will be in the next couple of years, has a solidified ranking system where there's a champion, top 5, top 15, or depending on the division, how small it is, top 5 fighters, and those fighters vie, they climb up the rankings. We know how it works. Is there ever in the near future you think that Husky Fat will try to lay out something like that for its kickboxing, especially since you guys have 2 styles of kickboxing, gloved MMA kickboxing and regular traditional kickboxing? Is that a thing that I know it's pretty early on? I know there's so many moving pieces. Is that a thing you've thought about possibly doing in the future?
Oh, absolutely. And it is in the works, and it's something that's been on my list to do for a while. We've actually even came out with some rankings just for our amateurs, I think this year at some point, but then we got sidetracked and we just didn't follow through with completing it. So that's going to be on the list to do. This is our last show of the year. We're going to take a little bit of time off to enjoy our family, enjoy the holidays, and recruit from a busy year and get ready to look forward to next year. But during that time, we will be adding some things to social media, to our websites, in rankings. Rankings is definitely on the list to do, because you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, we want to present a product that not only people will watch and enjoy, but they have something to strive for. They can, you can pull up a ranking system and say, all right, okay, he's the champ. This guy's my guy here is number 8. What we got to do to bring him up? So that is definitely on the list for 2026 for Husky Fat Promotions. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad we're on the same page there, because a thing that actually killed Bellator, Scott Coker, a guy who was in kickboxing at one point.
Yeah,
is that Bellator, back when Bellator was on DAZN, they did not even have a ranking system yet. So it led to a lot of people just watching those events for guys like Chael Sonnen and Fedor, and it kind of got its name for being where the old guys fight. And they still put on great fights. But all there was the legends and the champions, and then maybe someone will get a title shot. And that ended up, unfortunately, going poorly for them as they got acquired. So that's why I bring that up as Husky Fat, because it has all this momentum. One of these things that I've always wanted to bring up to you is wow, a ranking system would absolutely help them out. And just when it comes not just for yourselves as the promotion, but for the fighters, the fans, everyone wants to see the best fight the best. So when you have a clear structure like that, not only does it motivate the fighters, motivates the coaches, motivates the friends, the family, and then you can actually, because I think that the UFC gets criticized for is that every single main event that's numbered has the title on it. However, what they do now is they have smaller events that are it's the number 8 guy versus the number 4 guy, and they make a nice little storyline about that. And this is probably a thing that, I don't know if you're a pro wrestling fan, Scott, or if you were when you were younger.
I was when I was younger. Yeah.
I still am, because I'm a dork. But
dude, literally everybody, and I'm gonna guess, I'm probably guessing your age there, but I'm guessing you're probably late 20s, late 20s, early 30s. Everybody I know that works for me or that I'm associated with that's your age still loves professional wrestling.
Yeah,
man. I got guys in my office next door here. They're probably talking WWE right now.
Oh yeah, and the reason why we love it is Ariel Helwani is a big wrestling there, the biggest reporter in all MMA. But he said it's a really interesting thought bit that I think is super useful to promoters that they don't think about. Although except the UFC, they have a good pat down. They have this pat down. The big difference between pro wrestling and pro fighting is that one is real and one is scripted. And I thought about that. I'm like, oh crap, that's right. When Stone Cold and The Rock faced off, they didn't care that the WWE belt was on the line. They cared that Stone Cold and The Rock faced off. When Mason Strodtmann, let's say he fights against the Husky Fat, fights against the new hot prospect in a year or two, people aren't going to think, oh man, it's for the Husky Fat title. Well, of course they will, because the belt is prestigious. But they'll be like, the guy who fought in K1, the best in America, against the next guy coming up. Holy crap, who's going to win? There's a lot of stakes and a lot of natural storytelling. The only difference, obviously, is one day write a script, you're going to say this. Where in combat athletics, it's all about who's the best. Oh my gosh, this guy or this guy's from this town. Because a big thing that people forget, Scott, is that the UK, although the UK has so many phenomenal world athletes, they're able to basically have a career off of just winning British titles, Commonwealth titles, UK titles, stuff that we wouldn't say is world level, but definitely national level. And they're legends in their town. People sell out arenas for their fights. And I'm like, wow, that's something we got to be able to replicate in the United States, where if this guy, although he might falter at the highest level, where these guys are so good, have 100 freaking fights, they still have somewhere to fall on. And also for the fighters who really are the cream of the crop, explode out of there. So that way we kind of make a true, powerful domestic scene. So that's kind of why I bring that up, why it's so similar, because when Husky Fat eventually gets that ranking system in and we build these notorieties for gyms, like everyone knows American Top Team, everyone knows like all these great gyms in MMA, you'll be able to see these rivalries like take to fruition. Gyms, coaches, all these guys become characters in the storyline, kind of like in pro wrestling. So that's kind of why I bring that up. So sorry if it was a bit of a tangent, but hopefully it makes sense.
You're good. No, you're good. No, it makes perfect sense, man. And I think that in going back to the whole Europe thing, I mean, it's ingrained in the culture there. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys are their heroes. They look up to them, and here I feel like there's just so much media content flowing in, and there's so many other sports and stuff. It's hard. Like the local heroes here are your college football players, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody flocks to watch college football or college basketball, or at a smaller level, even you go to Podunk, USA, the high school sports. Mm-hmm. Nothing else to do, they'll pack it out. Well, in the UK, they're going to go support their local fighter.
Oh yeah.
Ricky Hatton was a huge star before anybody knew who he was. Mm-hmm. In the UK. If you're going to talk boxing, I mean, he was selling at arenas before he made it to the United States. Unless you're a hardcore boxing fan, half the people around here didn't even know who he was until he went and fought, Floyd, and then fought Pacquiao.
Absolutely. But here's the thing, this is where I'm agreeing with you, but this is where I give a bit of a rebuttal, Scott, because here's the thing. We did have those heroes once upon a time in kickboxing, obviously back during the full contact era. Heck, from Rockford, Illinois, a city no one knows that exists, we had Brad Hefton, who was really good in the full contact scene. Dennis Alexio, I think he was out of Hawaii, had a bunch of guys out of California. We had some guys from down south. We had so many incredible stars that although they're forgotten out because unfortunately the sport fizzled out and they became into MMA, it's like we could do this again, and it can be done again. And I know you guys are trying to make it happen, so that's why I kind of wanted to say it to you just to get it ticking in your head and plant the seed.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're 100% right, man. And here's the thing: I feel like the sport's gotten so much better since then. Like the athletes are more advanced. It's a lot more fan friendly sport than you go. I mean, let's just take local. You go to a local MMA show, and then you go to a local kickboxing or Muay Thai show. Which one's more entertaining? I mean, if you're talking just from local MMA here, especially on the amateur level, it's first person that gets hit with any type of strike, they immediately panic and go for a takedown, whether they can wrestle or not, right? Everybody's scared to get hit. Kickboxing, you can be bad at kickboxing and still be an entertaining fight.
Absolutely, because and heck, you can say that's with street beefs being so popular now. A lot of their best fights, ironically enough, are kickboxing. But but no, as you're saying, the sport has gotten so much better at promoting itself. Because I always tell people this nowadays. Look at what we have this weekend. We got the big one event, 1173. Then after that, we got RWS getting bigger. Then we got Glory. Then we have Rise Kazuki Osaki. We're seeing cross promotion between Muay Thai and kickboxing, and we're having all these big fights. And now that kickboxing is growing again in the East and promoting itself much better, we kind of went from like 20 years ago, back when Joe Schilling was fighting, he a good Muay Thai fighter, good kickboxer.
Oh, yeah.
No one knew who he was. They're like, hey, that's the Diaz brothers' friend, right? Because he trained at their gym. He was known as just being their friend, and also for fighting in Bellator. But the guy was a really good heavyweight WBC Muay Thai champion. He fought in Glory. He beat Simon Marcus, one of the best Canadian middleweights, who lost to Alex Pereira. He beat a Glory champion, and people mostly know him because kickboxing didn't do a great job. It was a bit of a dark age, unfortunately. But now that we're seeing all these guys, especially the Japanese stars, they're so big. Yuki Yoza, Masaki Noiri, Takeru Sagawa, Rod Tang, Superlek. It's like, we can do this. It absolutely can be done. And that's why I'm so very, very much excited for this Husky Fat event and for the next year. But that also brings into my next question. I'm curious to see where your mind is on this. Now, boxing, the reason why it reaps more benefits and also had its dark age in a bit of a 2000s, not a true one, but more so an era where fighters weren't fighting as often as people should, which is why Manny Pacquiao was revered. Now in the current age, now that Turki Al-Sheikh and the Saudi money is involved, we see so many fights happening, so many great fights, stat cards. It used to be you watch a card for one fight, the main event. Now those cards are resembling more UFC cards. Wow, there's so many great fighters. And the thing that people see is that in the UFC and in boxing, people want to find a nice little fine point where, for example, the ISKA title is a title that is like a WBC title or a WBO title. It's not attached to a promoter. And Husky Fat, with its association with K1, I was always wondering, and again, this is like a far out question, and I really do wonder where your mind is on this, because I'm not a promoter. I just want to get your take on this, is that the ISKA is basically seen as that secondary title, where if you win that title, you're probably going to be a K1 champion, a Glory champion, a one champion, so on and so forth. And the ISKA is actually an American. It is an American
sure is
governing body. And the thing that they have is European titles, Asia titles. And a thing that I think would be wonderful for Husky Fat, especially since the ISKA is one of the biggest, most known bodies in kickboxing, is do you think it would be possible to one day, like where you're working with K1, who has a good relationship with the ISKA organization, to possibly make something like ISKA USA titles or ISKA North American titles for fighters, again, to build themselves up organically. So that way we can really, really see, okay, this guy won that Husky Fat title. That Husky Fight title is basically the American title. What's the next step? The ISKA North American title. He's a continental champion now as a pro. He's worth more. And now he can sell himself to Europe, sell himself to Japan, build up that scene, and have a real structured pipeline for what it is to get to that world level, winning this, winning that, and those sort of things, like winning these not lesser to say, but titles that build you up to that world titleship contender status, or getting to the cream of the crop. Would that ever be a thing that you try to do? Again, I know there's so much growing pains, so it's so difficult, but I was just wondering if you ever thought about these sort of stuff, Scott.
Man, I feel like you're gonna give away all my secrets.
I'm sorry. I don't.
No, you're good. No,
I'll edit it out if you want me to. I'll be saying.
Actually, no. It's not. It hasn't gone past just a casual conversation, but to answer your question, yes. Now we are very much, have starting conversations with ISKA about doing some sort of collaboration, about having a sanctioned ISKA belt on our cards in the future. So 100%. That is something that we're actually looking into right now as we speak. So yes.
Okay. Well, sorry, Scott. I don't mean to
no, dude. It just means we're on the same wavelength, brother.
Oh man.
It means I need to hire you. Is what it means.
Well, I did say I want to do commentary. I just got sworn away by life in the military, so sorry about that.
Yeah,
that was it. Yeah. But that also, the reason why I bring that question is to ask this one. Now, Mason Strodtmann, I remember I asked you last time. Mason Strodtmann, incredible fighter, incredible amateur, super young man. That guy is going to be a world champion with a tricky southpaw, heavy hitter. And he got to fight in the K1 Max tournament. And unfortunately, for a young man, still green on the world level, still green as a pro, he's got one of the, and I don't mean this to say this disrespectfully, and I hope he doesn't hear me when he hears this, is that he got Minoru Kimura, who, in my opinion, and again, this just shows how stacked this tournament was, and it still is, and it's happening this weekend. I forgot to bring that up. Is that in a tournament full of world champions, guys like Stoyan Poprivlensky, Oyan Fang, Kasper Muzinski, who I thought was going to win the whole thing, but he ended up losing, like many incredible talents. When the weaker guys are guys like, Minoru Kimura, who is an ex-champion and has fought everyone, and unfortunately also popped hot for drugs and also lost to Buaka, that he is considered one of the weaker seeds of the tournament. When the guy's a one-punch KO machine trained by the great Ensign Inoue, and Mason gets to fight him, and unfortunately things did not go his way. However, it was still a wonderful experience, and it was still like, because I was watching it live, I was like, yeah, the American flag's flying to Japan tonight. They didn't go our way, unfortunately. It didn't go our way, unfortunately, and there's no shame in that. All support to Mason for putting himself out there and repping us. But that also raises the question, though, is that for a guy like him, from jumping to the American scene, excellent amateur, to going to the local scene, to getting shot up the rankings, is that a thing that I always want to ask is that since Japan has its own local scene that they used to build up titles, Takeru Sagawa, Masaki Noiri, a lot of great fighters have come out of Krush. I'm sure you know of Krush. I'm wearing I'm wearing a Krush underneath my K1 hoodie. But do you think it'd be possible, especially so that way people don't usually, because the Japanese scene is very insular, and they do even though they're respectful, they talk a lot of crap, I'll be honest, because I talk to them. Do you think it'd be wiser for the American champions, the next set of Mason Strodtmans that we get, if we could possibly send them, at least while things are working out as Husky Fat still trugs along, And so that way those guys don't unfortunately get caught in a low period where where Husky Fat's building, to possibly send them up to Krush as opposed to the K1 proper scene, where they're going to be facing guys who've either fought for the titles, K1 runner-ups, or champions. And then all of a sudden people say, who is this guy? He's not worth doing it. When in reality, it's like, no. That's not the case at all. This guy's a brilliant young mind, super great athlete. He just had the misfortune of fighting the final boss on his first go. So do you think, especially now, no, because unfortunately it was a bit of a test run, for lack of a better term, it'd be wiser maybe next time talking to one, hey, can I have these guys possibly compete in Krush, where it's more of that national scene, but you're still fighting, because again, their scene unfortunately is better than ours, hate to admit it, but it'd be probably wiser to have them face their up-and-coming kickboxers as our fighters are up-and-coming. Do you think that'd be a wiser choice? Just throwing it out there, sorry.
No, man, once again, you and I are we're on the same. That's exactly the conversations that we've been having since that happened. And there's a few things that went on behind the scenes with Mason, and some of it I can't talk to you about on air. I'll talk to you about it off air.
Understandable.
The opponent switch. They switched opponents on him, and I don't even have it written out. I've had a lot happen in my life, personal life, since then. So I'm kind of all over I've kind of been just putting some things back together here recently. But he had an opponent. They switched his opponent. I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks out. They switched it to him, to obviously a tough. The guy's a killer. There's no other way around it. He's a KO artist. Now he had been suspended, or he'd been on the shelf for a few years for steroids.
Yep, he admitted to them actually.
Yes, he admitted to him. And there's a story about that. I'll tell you, like I said, I'll tell you about off air.
Of course,
I really felt like I'm not going to say that Mason was set up, but I don't feel like he was given the best opportunity. In other words, if he'd had 6 weeks to train for him, or he'd had a full camp to train for him, the fight would have looked a little bit different. I'm not saying he would have won, because obviously coming out there, you could see the nerves coming out. I mean, it's a massive stage. And that's a massive fight for your first fight on the massive stage. So we're going to take we've talked to K1 about Mason, and Mason's definitely going to get another opportunity with K1 and with Husky Fat as well. And so we're going to build him up a little bit here in the United States, get him a couple more fights. And we're going to look to get him back to Japan. But to answer your initial question, yes, I'm 100% in agreement with you that just from the fundamental level, because even the amateur, there's a big difference in the amateur kickboxing scene in general here in the United States versus overseas as well. It's not just the pros. Just the rule set and everything else. The rule set for and no offense, there's a lot of great fighters that come out of Waco or the USA Kickboxing and stuff, but their rule set and different things like that, it doesn't translate always to the pro game. So there's just the United States lags behind a little bit from Europe and from Japan there, but as far as kickboxing goes, but we're catching up. And no, I do think that Krush and some other outlets like that, especially for guys like Mason, who are young and only going to get better and better, to kind of get their feet wet in the overseas market first, is definitely a great idea. 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's just the unfortunate nature as these things happen is that as fighters come up, they tend to, and especially in kickboxing is very much unlike what boxing was a couple of years ago. Thankfully, things have changed in that sport, where losses don't define people. People always say, especially, records don't really matter, even at the pro scene, because you look at these amazing kickboxers, even guys like Waka, a literal freaking anime character made of steel, who's got like 60 losses. But but that's what made him who he was. Same thing with a lot of great Japanese fighters. Losses, obviously, you as a guy who's fought, me as a guy who's fought coaches, they're what teach you more than winning. You can first round KO, awesome. You feel good, but what'd you really do? So it's just one of those things where that's just the nature of the combat sports. And the number one thing we can do as Americans is support our American athletes and try to do what's best for them. And obviously look at these things as with the harshest realities we could, because it's better to do it now than learn it later. So that's why I asked that question. It's a bit of a tough question. I'm sorry about that, but I just wanted to really get it from the horse's mouth. But now this is going to be, unfortunately, a question that I was really curious about, because I was really excited about the last Husky Fat event, and unfortunately ended up falling through. And I really want, again, and sorry if it's going to be a long story, or if you can even talk about it. If you can't, no big deal. Is that what exactly ended up happening with the Texas versus the World Husky Fat event, which is supposed to be the first proper K1 challenge event? Because I remember you made a long post on Facebook about it, and I was trying to make sense. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I was wondering if, and again, this is obviously in the past, but I figured if I could ask you, so that way we can, as fighters, as people who'll be watching this, we can avoid this from ever happening again, because this is bad for kickboxing when unfortunately things like this happen. And again, I'm not trying to put blame on anyone, just want to know what exactly happened, if it's possible. So that's okay with you, Scott?
Yeah, man, no, absolutely. And I actually had planned on I assumed I was going to address this. Essentially, I mean, long story short, what happened, or I'll give you kind of the long story of it. But obviously during the promotion, I had outside help, helping bring in fighters, bringing in fighters, regional fighters, not just regional fighters from Texas, but from all over the United States. Well, the Texas Commission is very strict. And by that, I mean is they've got, once you go get your physical, you got to get physical done, you got to get your blood work done. It all has to be done on their paperwork. They don't care if you have had a physical done 2 weeks ago and it was on Illinois' paperwork. They're going to say, that's great. We need it on the Texas paperwork. So they're very stringent about how they do things there. I was a new promoter I'm a new promoter going in there. K1's never been there before. So meaning that everything that they want their I's dotted and their T's crossed. The fighters thought that, we can just wait, get our blood work done, the week of or a couple days before it's due, get our physical done the day it's due. It won't matter if it's turned in a day late, because it's required to have it in by a certain time before, a week before weigh-ins or 5 days, whatever that is. I don't remember what it was. So long story short, the fighters kept getting the stuff done, and they kept coming, and they were sent the exact same handbook that I got from Texas. They were explained, asked if you have any questions, blah, blah, blah. In the fight, and not only that, not just the fighters, the managers too. I blame them more than I blame the fighters. But the bottom line is they didn't get, people procrastinated on their paperwork and on their stuff. There were a few injuries that happened and a few things like that, but people didn't get their stuff in time. During that time period, on a personal level, my mom passed away unexpectedly, passed away suddenly during that promotion. So obviously I had about a 2-week period there where I did nothing but deal with that, be with family and mourn the loss of my mother. So that was a very difficult time for me. It still is. She was everything to me and my brothers. But so the point is, I wasn't there for a period of time to follow up or to have to hey, you have this done? Where this at? Where this and that? They were getting follow-ups, but not as regularly as I would have done it had I been going. So, but long story short, at the end of the day, we had a bunch of people that either didn't turn their stuff in on time or turned it in last minute, but they were missing something. And it was too late for them to go back to get it fixed. So if they would have done it a week before, I would have said, well, no, this has to be signed off by a doctor. You got it signed off by a nurse. So you're going to have to go back to the clinic, get it signed off. We would have had time to fix it. And Texas was good with that. You could get away with 2 or 3 of those and be fine, but you can't get away with it if it's pretty much, like 3/4 of the card, right? So, what sucks about that is most people assume that they just weren't selling enough tickets. We would have had a sellout. We had the tables, the reserve seat, and the only thing left was general admission. That was the only thing left available, and that all sells out the day before. So we would have had a sellout. But at the end of the day, all that mess cleared up, the card I had left to put on was basically just a local show, is what it was. It wasn't what I'd advertised. It wasn't what I wanted. It certainly wasn't K1 worthy. And so we just decided that we're just going to scratch that show and lick our wounds, learn from it, move on.
Well, that's unfortunate. Just a big old tragedy all around. Again, condolences perhaps your mom. Prayers out. The horrible thing, unfortunately. I hope you're doing well, Scott, because especially that during this is horrific. Bad for the kickboxing scene, bad for the fans, bad for just a bad time all around. But hey, these things if they don't kill us, they make us stronger. And that is absolutely how these things are going to go. Again, because when I heard about the Pope for the comeback, I'm like, wow, that was a quick turnaround. It's a K1 challenge event. Okay, they're rolling. I'm like, hey, they're rolling with the punches. Rolling with the punches with this one. And you guys are going to be putting on a good show again. It shows that good nature of a lot of the fans, yourself, the promoter, the fighters, that No one wants to get screwed over. They want to grow the sport. They want to grow their careers. There is no malice in this, and it should be a team, which is absolutely just all-around athletes working to make the show going on. Yeah, we all want to win. Everyone wants to win. Not everyone can win. But the best thing for this to happen is for it to even exist, for shows to even happen, for fights to even happen, for there to even be K1 American champions. If we can't even agree with that, we're absolutely boned on it. But other than that, though, absolutely commend you for even going through that. And may God bless you and God bless Husky Fat as these things roll along. And another thing that I had a question on that is that I don't know who the heck is saying that you guys couldn't sell tickets, because I knew a lot of people, because I shared in my circles, like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like guys in Chicago who watch the sport on TikTok in little clips.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you told us about that guy. Yeah, you think you want to go down there? And it's like, oh yeah, absolutely, I can. I told you I had that wedding that weekend, unfortunately. But no, people were talking about it even up here. A lot of people in the kickboxing scene. So anyone saying that, those are the people who unfortunately just want to see the promotion fail for their own end means or anything like that. So those are the type of people, unfortunately, we're just going to have to ignore. But other than that, though, that's an incredible thing that you were able to bounce back. And now we're coming back with Emmanuel Rivera, the Globe for the Come Up, and a lot of good things seem to be coming up for kickboxing, Husky Fat, and just striking overall in the United States, though. But other than that, though, Scott, do you have any other closing thoughts that you want to promote? Anything else you want to shout out there? Any fighters, any other events coming on?
Man, not a whole lot. First off, I want to give a shout out to you, man.
Thank you.
It's people like you that keep this sport alive and growing it. And tell your buddies and you stay tuned, because nothing's official. Like I said, we're going to get through this and we're going to start laying out plans for next year. We already got plans in the work, but we'll start dropping them as they come. But I smell another tournament in the air next year as well. So just be ready for that, and we better see your pretty face there.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm going to try to make my time, get down there. Other than that, though, one more time, can you promote the Globe for the Come event, times, dates, all that sort of stuff? Are there still tickets available?
The tickets, there are tickets available, but they are in a way of a donation, meaning you go to the comeupfoundation.com. There's different donation levels you can donate. Single tickets are limited. They originally started this thing out where it was all just going to be a fundraiser, corporate event. I mean, we're talking about like the main sponsor for them is the Attorney General of the state of Oklahoma. So there's some big, there's some big wigs that are going to be in attendance there. So it is going to be kind of a little bit more of a fancy event than what we do. But it's going to be a show. The main event, Myron Lightskin Dynamite Dennis versus Davis, the Pitbull Horacio. I don't know if you had a chance to see when we brought both of those guys on at the same time on our podcast, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun fight. Myron's fought everywhere. He's a UFC Ultimate Fighter alum. He's fought in Glory. You name it. Half the people that fight light heavyweight in the UFC has fought Myron at some point. The guy fights anybody and everybody, and he's highly skilled. He's I want to say his kickboxing record is like 26-4 or something like that, 26-5. And Davis is no slouch either. Davis doesn't have near as many fights as him, but that dude was fighting before that dude was fighting full contact karate with basically bare knuckle karate before anybody knew what it was. And I'm talking we're not talking the traditional karate tournaments where you can only punch to the body or anything. I'm talking full contact, head contact too. So the guy's a tough, big, scary dude. So it's going to be a great fight for a great cause. And then, we got 3 other title fights on there too. So you can make it to the show, the comeupfoundation.com, make your donation, reserve your table, reserve your seats. If you can't come, I suggest you go to huskyfat.com. Follow all our socials. You can watch the fights live. You can watch it on our app. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. You can watch it on our Facebook. No reason for you to miss these, man. It's a Friday night. What else are you going to do on a Friday night?
All right. But other than that, though, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you, Scott, for coming out here. May wonderful things happen in the sport of kickboxing at the world level, European level, and especially at the American level as we grow the sport here in the United States. Thank you so much for the guy spearheading the whole thing, for coming out, supporting the thing, and rolling with the punches. Other than that, though, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Stay blessed, brother.
Stay blessed.